A server as young as 14 years old could be serving alcohol at a restaurant in the future.
It's under new proposed legislation aimed at reducing the current state law requiring a server to be at least 18 years old to serve alcohol. Emily Riley joins us now live with more about the proposed legislation and what she's hearing in response. Emily.
Bill, after speaking with restaurant owners and a statement from the sponsor of this bill, I'm hearing a lot of mixed responses to this legislation. Senator Rob Stafschultz of Wisconsin's 10th District introduced the bill Monday. He says reducing the age limit for serving alcohol to 14 is a, quote, simple solution for labor shortage complications in the restaurant industry. The bill clarifies the server would only be allowed to serve seated customers, not those sitting at the bar. It also requires a licensed operator to supervise them. Frank Harris with Mothers Against Drunk Driving says he thinks the proposal raises more questions than it solves.
Doesn't pass any type of logical test. It's not logical to allow 14-year-olds to sell alcohol in some shape or form. I mean, there's other ways to address the workforce issue.
Local restaurant owners like Missy Martins at the Copper State Brewing Company in Green Bay says she feels there isn't enough clarification.
But my main concern would be someone over-serving someone or a child having to make that kind of a decision that they wouldn't be prepared to make.
She says the concern may depend on the restaurant's environment.
We love our staff to be knowledgeable about our beer and to be able to speak intelligently to our guests about what beers are good and what tastes like what. Most of our servers and bartenders are over 21 so that they can also drink our beer, etc.
The proposed bill still needs to pass through the Senate and the Assembly and be signed by Governor Evers before it could move forward. Reporting live in Green Bay, Emily Riley, Action 2 News.